I'm doing nothing.
When we open Perek Yud on page 375, we get another one of these Vayihi Acharei Chains, which is like Perek Chet, just to see. Chapter 8 started with Vayihi Acharei Chain.
Are we supposed, whenever
Right?
we hear Vayihi Acharei Chain, is it like music of doom playing in the background?
Well, the word Vayihi is oftentimes a signal of, as the Gemara says in Masechet Megillah, Vayhi, that this is a very negative thing that's about to come, or something with a tinge of negativity. I don't know if you can always figure that out. But you had Perek Chet, Vayihi Acharei Chain, and so it was after these things. It means something following on the heels of something else. Mind you, I had told you last week that Perek Chet was really the end of a unit, and Tet and Yud go together, and Tet does not begin with Vayihi Acharei Chain. But all right, whatever it is.
But Vayihi alone is Vayihi Arab is good.
I don't want to go into that right now. But Vayihi b'yimei Shvot HaShoftim, Vayihi b'yimei Achashverosh, Vayihi b'yimei Amrafel. There's a lot of different Vayihis that the Gemara darshans. Then it starts asking, well, what about Vayihi Vayivoker? And what about this and that? Aren't there positive ones as well? And but generally there is some element of something, let's say, that involves something negative here in the story. Okay. Now that I'm thrown off, let's get back to it. This story also is an episode that happened. It's not clear that this particular episode of Vayihi Acharei Chain is right after the story with Mephibosheth chronologically, and I'll explain to you why as we go further along today with not a detail, but an aspect of the narration that we'll get to of how this will unfold, what will happen, involving a regional war. I gave you the map here on the source packet, page 1. It's right here. And on that map, we'll be using this map a little bit later this morning. Let's look, page 375, at the basic storyline. A lot of questions will come up pretty quickly about this story. Vayihi Acharei Chain. Vayamot melech b'nei Ammon, vayimloch Chanun b'no tachtav. The king of Ammon dies, and his son Chanun takes over. Vayomer David, Esech chesed im Chanun ben Nachash, ka'asher asa aviv imadi chesed. I will do, says David, a kindness with Chanun, the son of Nachash. Now we find out the name of the king was Nachash. We actually knew this already. We've heard his name before. We'll be looking up at least one of those contexts shortly. As his father did with me, Chesed. And David decides to send a delegation to be Menachem Avel. The fact that he was not Jewish doesn't matter. It's consoling those who are grieving. Vayishlach David lenachamo biyad avadav el aviv. Vayavo avdei David eretz b'nei Ammon. So goes the delegation to the land of Ammon. Vayomru sarei b'nei Ammon el Chanun adoneihem hamechabed David et avicha be'einecha ki shalach lecha menachamim. Do you really think that he wants to honor? David's trying to honor your father? Really? That he sent you a delegation of condolences? He could have sent you, send some flowers or something. Send one messenger with a message. He sent a delegation of people. No, that's not why he came. That's not why they came, rather. Halo ba'avur chakor et ha'ir, ula ragla, ula hafcha, shalach David et avadav elecha. They came for one purpose. They are scouts. They are going to find our weak points in order to overtake us. This was the claim already against the brothers coming to Mitzrayim. This is the claim, this is actually what the Meraglim are doing when they go. This is the idea of what the two spies, the beginning of Sefer Yoshua, are doing in Yericho. It's a common practice to scout out the land. They came under the guise of paying homage to your father's memory. They came to figure out how to conquer us.
We'd have to know what the historical thing was. Did surrounding leaders or kings or chieftains send people in those cases or not? So
fair point.
If they didn't, then David thinks he's doing this great
Chesed.
kindness, and of course they're thinking there's got to be some other reason. Nobody else does this.
Yeah,
What's the word for snake in Hebrew?
Nachash. That was the man's name. We've encountered him before, by the way,
So
Shmuel
Hanun
Aleph.
is son of a snake.
Yes, interesting. And he sees things in a serpentine manner.
Whoa.
Maybe. That's nice. Yeah, you just made that up now. You just put the words in your mouth, but you just came up with that.
Although
That's
in some
good.
of the ancient time, in some countries at that time, if it had been an alliance between the countries, they did in fact send delegations. The king would send a delegation of condolence. That was not, I don't know what the relations were between David and Haman, I have no clue. But between certain ones, when there were alliances or treaties or pacts, it was a common thing for one king to send condolences to the other, and there was a death.
The question is, what about is it a delegation?
Well, that I don't know.
And we don't have any other record of David sending delegations to anybody else so far, which begs the question, why did he choose this and now? Also, what exactly is the chesed? It doesn't really indicate. It just says there's a chesed. Now,
that the father did for him?
yeah,
Okay.
but there is no story shot. There's no story in Shmuel Aleph of
Oh.
anything between them. So here we go. Pasuk Dalet.
When he was hiding out?
Maybe. Rav Amnon Bazak, one of his theories is that it stands to reason. The Navi just didn't tell us, but among the other people, he suddenly went to hide with Achish, Melech Gat. So maybe he went to hide at some point with Ammon. Maybe, but there's a little bit of a problem for me of Akam's razor, which is over here. Why wouldn't it tell us if he went there? Why wouldn't it say? Why did it leave out? It's a detail. It doesn't seem like a little detail to me. I don't know. Maybe, to know there was another person. We had to know that he went to Achish Melgad. It was important for the story. So to understand this would have been good to know that. We seem to not know what the chesed is. The given in the story is there is a chesed. What it is, we'll have to look shortly in the Medrash. But let's see what happens. I want to see the basic frame of what happens. Vayikach Chanun et Avdei David, Vayigalach et Chatzi Zikanam, Vayichor et Madveihem Ba'chetzi ad shtoteihem vayishalchem. He shames them. He shaves off half of their beards, and he tears their clothing until their midsection, probably exposing their private areas, the covered areas, to shame them, and he sends them on their way. Vayigidul David, they tell David the report, Vayishlach likratam hayu ha'anashim nichlamim me'od, the people were shamed. Vayomer HaMelech, Shvu v'Yericho ad yitzamach zikanchem v'shavtem. Stay in Yericho. Why Yericho? It's on the border. Stay there. Your beards will grow back, and you can return. This sparks a regional war. Vayiru b'nei Amon ki niv'ashu b'David vayishlichu b'nei Amon vayiskeru et Aram Beit Rechov ve'et Aram Tzova esrim elef ragli Vet melech ma'acha elef ish v'ish tov shneim asar elef ish. So what happens? The Ammonites realize something bad is going to happen, and so they send for hire up to Aram. Mercenaries. They get a lot of different people, 20,000 foot soldiers. Then they get from the Ma'acha, from another king. They also take all sorts of people they bring along, 1,000 people, right? And then this Ish Tov, Shnei Masar Elef Ish, and from whoever that person is, not clear, 12,000 more people. So it's a massive force of people. Vayishma David, Vayishlach et Yoav, Ve'et Kol Hatzava HaGiborim. So here we are. David sends, chief of staff, and the whole army, the warriors, let's go. There's going to be a fight. There's going to be more than a fight. It's going to be a war. I should like to point out, just in the level of shop before we get any farther, that there was missed signals. One thought they were doing a kindness for the other, and the kindness was misread and misinterpreted by middle management who impute motives that are not actually extant, and as a result, there's a war. And the idea that communication and clear communication, the importance of being cognizant of how, from a political perspective, things that a country does send signals to other countries about what it stands for and what it means and what its intentions are, and that there are sometimes, oftentimes in fact, unintended consequences that result from there. If you look at, if you want a good example, not from the present day, but almost the present day, in Michael Oren's amazing book, 6 Days of War, where he went back and he analyzed, based on the opened up archives of Israel and the United States, and he went back to understand the 6 Day War. Russian archives, also some of them were opened. He has a whole story in there about what happened on Yom HaAtzmaut in 1967, whereby there was already the beginnings of the massing of troops at the borders. It was already starting then on that day. That in fact on the parade stands that day, celebrating Yom HaAtzmaut, there was some kind of military parade or some such thing. There was a note being passed between, I think, the Rabin and Eshkol, a note saying, like, things are starting to heat up, whatever it was. But at the same time, and you'll have to read there, I don't remember all the details of it, there's something involving what was not in the parade. It was some kind of weapon they didn't put out in the parade, either because it was at servicing or something. I don't remember the exact story. But the point is that the Russian ambassador to Israel, remember before 67 there was still diplomatic relations, sent a cable to, I believe it was to Syria and to Egypt, saying the Israelis are doing this as a show of force and you need to switch into high gear. Now, Israel was doing it because it was A, the Yom HaAtzmaut was a parade, and B, there was some armament, I don't remember what it is now, surface to air missile batteries or something, that was not on display. Because you know why it's not on display? Because they're about to surprise attack you. It was like they were just like needling them. Israel did not know about this in 67. Michael Oren writes about this in the book as a revelation that came later, that basically behind the scenes Russia was kind of needling Syria and Egypt. Look, what's going on at their parade. It's part of a war effort that they're mounting. They're doing something belligerent, and nothing of the sort. It's just an example that comes to mind. I don't remember all the details, so don't hold me to it. But there's a shir in Nach and not in Michael Oren. But you can Ayin Sham in 6 Days of War as a description there, and it's an example here of, you see, it's just a further example of what you see here. According to what we understand, David did not want to do anything belligerent. He was just paying back a kindness and was misread. We're going to see more about this in a few minutes. Let's see what was the kindness that he tried to play out. Look at page 1. First of all, the map. If you want to see what's going on, so Yerushalayim is the bottom line of the map. You can see that. Yericho, obviously, right there. It's kind of in, I guess, came out of peach color of some sort. And then if you look farther north, you can see what's going on in the different places and that's being referenced here. So we see a little farther north in blue is a place called Chilam. We're going to come back to Chilam, major things happening in Chilam later in the parak. Further north is Ma'acha in bold. Ma'acha, which according to this has the overlay of the map of the international map of today, of the borders. So Ma'acha seems to be in what would today be Lebanon. But look at the top, well, Lebanon is on the top, but if you follow your eye down, so Ma'acha is somewhere in the area of northern Israel, southern Lebanon.
Golan Heights.
Yeah, maybe Golan Heights, actually. That's a good point. That's probably Golan Heights. It seems that Ma'acha is right over Kiryat Shmona.
Oh.
Interesting. Now, follow your eye north, by which I mean up and a little bit off to the right. You'll see there's Aram Tzova and Damascus, and Aram Tzova, Aram Damascus, Aram Tzova, right? So that's the area of Aram, is this whole area. I skipped, by the way, down below, right next to Ammon, which is Ammon, same place. Capital city, Rabat, Bnei Ammon. They still call it that in modern Hebrew too, but it's Amman, Jordan. So Tov is there, Ish Tov. So man from Tov brought another 1,000 soldiers, plus minus. So these are the forces who are going to be arrayed in a war against Israel. Now, also to point out, I mean, there's a little bit of a Parsha carryover, but when Avram Avinu tells Zakan Beito, his chief of staff, to go find a wife for Yitzchak Avinu, he's telling him to go north to this area, Aram Tzova, or farther up, Aram Naharayim, etc. All these areas are all up there, yeah? That's what we're talking about. Okay, so the Medrash Tanchuma. Sorry, we came here for the pasuk in Mishlei that is being explained by the Medrash is a pasuk in Mishlei, Re'acha v're'a avicha al ta'azov. Your friend and the friend of your father do not forsake. Uveit achicha al tavo b'yom eidecha. And don't come to the house of your brother on the day of your calamity. Tov shachein karov me'ach rachok. Better a good neighbor rather than a distant brother. Okay. Medrash Tanchuma in Parshat Vayera this past week. Vayisa misham Avraham. K'tiv re'acha v're'a avicha. Third line in this little narrow column. Zeh Chanun ben Nachash melech b'nei Amon. That is a reference to Chanun the son of Nachash. Shenemar vayhi achreichein vayomot melech b'nei Amon. Nachash is in brackets because it doesn't say Nachash's name in that first pasuk in our parak. Vayomer David asech chasidim Chanun ben Nachash. Amar Rabbi Yachia b'shem Rabbi Elazar ben Padat. Uma chesed asa Nachash im David. What exactly is the kindness that Nachash did with David? Shamar, as it says, Kasher asa aviv imadi chesed. His father did a kindness with me. Well, what is it? Ella, kshebarach David mishaul halach David v'chol beit aviv eitzel Moav. When David was running away from Shaul, he went to bring everyone to Moav. Remember, David is in a certain sense, he is descended of a Moabite, of Ruth. Amar lahem, kiblu beit Abba, receive my family, my father's house. Shneimar vayinachem et pnei Moav. He appealed to the countenance, the face of the king of Moab. Vayomer, El Melech Moav, Yetzena Avivi Imi. We'll say later on, asking about his father, mentioning about his father and his mother, meaning let them go out to stay with you, and we never hear from them again. Medrash says, V'kiblu otam, they were received. Kevin Shiat David, Amad Melech Moav, V'harag Aviv U'le'imo, U'le'achav Shel David. All the brothers were all killed, as was the mother and the father, all by Moab. Only one brother survived. Shenemar Yehuda Elihu me'achei David. We'll say later on in the listing of the family of David in Sefer Divrei Hayamim, it'll mention Elihu from the family of the brothers of David. Where are the other brothers? They all got killed. They're not in the tree because their families were killed out, unfortunately. He survived. Amar Rabbi Levi HaKohen Bar Chalafta, and the next bottom paragraph now. Shloni shtayr mehem ela echad ve'yach nimlat Elihu. How did he escape? The one that was left. Where did he escape to? Ela barach mimelech Moav v'halach eitzel Nachash melech b'nei Amon v'kiblo. He went to hide in Ammon's territory with the king Nachash. Shalach melech Moav ve'amar leNachash shema ba'echad me'achei David etzlecha. Did any of the brothers? Are you harboring one of the brothers? Moav asks Ammon. Amar lo lav. No. V'shamaro ad sheba David. He held him until David came. Lachein Amar David esech chasidim Chanun ben Nachash. Therefore David said, let me do a kindness with Chanun, the son of Nachash. Kevin shabo shluchav shel David etzel Chanun. Amrulo sarei bnei Amon mahu kach. Right? They started asking the question when the emissaries of David showed up in Ammon. They said, what is this really about? Hamechabe David et avicha be'einecha ki shalach lecha menachem. You really think that's why they came? Al ta'amein beDavid. Right? Don't believe in and don't trust him. Lama. Why? Shakadosh Baruch Hu mazhiro b'shvileinu. The Ammonites knew full well what the Torah says about them. Their God warned their people against doing what he's doing. Why? K'tiv b'Torato. It says in his Torah. What does it say? Lo yavo Ammonim v'ovim kal Hashem. Don't permit the Ammonites and the Moabites to enter the assembly of God. Uchtiv, and then it says, Lo tidrosh shlomam v'tovatam. Don't seek their welfare and their goodness. Huh?
Okay, but his grandmother, if they know all of this.
That's from Moab. That's from Moab.
Right, but it's Ammon and Moab have the same status in the Torah.
Yep.
So why did they figure, can't be, must not apply to everybody because
Ruth got in.
Yeah.
So you could say either somehow they knew the Torah and they also knew it was well known, Moaviv lo Moavit, everybody knew it. That's one possibility. Possible. I didn't say likely, it's a possible. Another possibility is, since David is always getting the claim against him, you're not really legitimate because you're from Moab. What does David have to do against Moab? Fight like mad. what does he have to do against Ammon? Fight like crazy. But he's not doing that. He's cozying up. But we see that David is a man who is committed to his Torah values, tzedakah, mishpat, etc. Navi keeps testifying to it. So if he's showing up on the scene, there ain't no way he's now countermanding an actual mitzvah in the Torah. Again, I mean, if in fact, they don't know about Moaviv, lo Moavit, right? You can't allow a Moavi to enter the nation, but a Moavit, a female from Moab, can. Who knows? By the by, Ammon also has a descendant who's going to marry in Naamal, be married to Rechavam later on. So, you think God is warning him and he is going to go against the words of his God? David HaMelech would never go against the words of his God. Remember those words when we get to next week, chapter 11. There's a little irony set up here also. Yeah, but that's what Ammon thinks of David. He would never falter. He would certainly not do something deliberate against dicta of the Torah, against mitzvot of the Torah. It's impossible. V'omer, he'll say, Esa chesed im chanun ben nachash, halo ba'avur chakor da'ir. They came for nefarious purposes. They're trying to scope out what we're about in order to conquer us and overtake our people. And they conquer us as part of their growing empire. We're not going to let that happen. Miyad. Vayikach chanun et avdei David v'galach, v'ruach hakodesh tzofachat, re'acha v're'a avicha. And there the divine, the Ruach HaKodesh is crying out, right? Basically, no. He's following a part of the Torah from the book of Mishlei. Don't forsake your friend or the friend of your father, meaning good things that were done by this person for you. Do right by them. Nachash's son Hanun is wary, and the counselors tell him you have a good reason to be wary, and don't take him at face value. Nothing is as it seems. You think it's chesed, it's not chesed, it's about power. And now I'll come just a little smidgen to something that Karen came up with.
Okay.
I'm not suggesting that it's, what I'm saying now is, I haven't seen a source for it, so maybe not, I don't know. But it is interesting that someone's trying to do chesed for someone else. Party A is doing chesed for party B. But there's someone who comes in and says, that's not chesed. It's actually an exercise of power. But it's a subterfuge to sound like it's chesed. Who is that party who interposed himself? The Nachash. Hashem creates the world as an act of chesed. Everything he does for Adam and Chava is chesed. Olam chesed yibaneh, the pasuk in Tehillim. Why did Hashem create the world? According to many, Rav Hutner writes it this way in the Kuntras HaChesed, in Olam HaChasidut, many, not all, but many, say it exactly this way. Hashem, the greatest act of chesed Hashem did is He created the world, provides for the world. We say this every single day when we bench, right? Kilu Olam Chazdo, we're quoting the pasuk from Sefer Tehillim. That was inscribed later in Sefer Tehillim, but Kilu Olam Chazdo, that's what we mean. What did the Nachash say? It's not about that. Hashem did it because He wants to control you. And the will to power is at play here. And that's why there's a tree you can't eat from, because He knows that if you do eat from it, you'll be powerful like Him. And He needs to keep His power. So He created this as a means of controlling you. That is the word of the Nachash. That's the Lishna Bisha, the Lashon Hara spoken by the Nachash. So it's just interesting that here, again, with the name Nachash, and the children, the son of Nachash has counselors who are still whispering in his ear, this isn't really about chesed, it's about something else. But it wasn't about something else. But in the end, what happened? They went to war over it. So we should fairly ask, okay, if this chesed really happened, which the Medrash is telling us it happened, why didn't the Pshat just tell us straight away that David owed a favor to Nachash, because Nachash saved at least one of his brothers when he sought refuge and asylum in Ammon's territory? Perhaps part of the reason is because of the complexity of the relationship between the Jewish people and the nation of Ammon. And not just that, but particularly with Nachash. We've met Nachash before. Turn back with me to Shmuel Aleph, chapter 11. And Shmuel Aleph, chapter 11, Nachash, at a time when the Jewish people are not yet as established as they would later become. Page 336. Vayal Nachash Amoni, Vayichan al Yavesh Gilad, Vayomru Kol Anshe Yavesh El Nachash, Krat Lanu Brit Ben Avdacha. Nachash Amoni comes to Yavesh Gilad. Where is Yavesh Gilad? Is it on this map? It doesn't appear on this map, but it's in the vicinity of.
East Bank.
Yeah, it's the East Bank, but it's a little farther north. It's north of Amman, and it's kind of near Beit Sha'an. So it'll be where it says Chilam. It's maybe a little bit south of Chilam on the map on page 1. That was Yavesh Gilad. We saw where Yavesh Gilad was on the Yavesh Gilad map when we did Shmuel Aleph chapter 11. But what did Nachash do? He encamps as against the people of Yavesh Gilad, and what do the people of Yavesh Gilad say? Make a covenant with us, and we will serve you, we'll pay you tribute. And what if Vayomer Lev Nachash Amoni bezot echrod lachem bin kol lachem kol ein yamin. Yeah, I'll make a covenant with you. Here's the sign of the covenant. Poke out your right eyes. V'samtia cherpa al kol Yisrael. All right? I will do this to disgrace, to shame the Jewish people. Interesting. Shame the Jewish people here. Ammon seems to have a thing about shaming people. Same thing in Perak Yud in Shmuel Bet. So what happens here? The people of Yavesh Gilad, the Zikanim, are petrified. All the people are terrorized. And they say, give us 7 days. And let's find out. And Shaul fights a war and defeats Nachash. Nachash is a bad guy. Not only a bad guy, a terrible guy. And he came against the people of Yavesh Gilad. Now, why he was there was related to, as you keep reading, he had a claim on land on these lands, the area of the Gilad. He wanted it back. This is again he was coming back again on a claim that was made in the days of Shoftim, where also Ammon started up, and that's where Yiftach Giladi fought against and defeated Ammon. Now this was a second time. Now we're up to the third time. Now there's going to be conflict with Ammon. And in this war that's going to ensue, you have to realize the name Nachash was terrible, a terrible, terrible person. And they did terrible things. So you want to tell a little story about how they were really good? There is a story like that, but it doesn't go in the Pshat. Maybe that's why it's not there. I'm speculating. Maybe that's why it's not there, and therefore he did do a kindness. That's true, but you don't tell good stories about a despot that, by the way, he also smiled at children. I mean, he's a tyrannical ruler. Who cares if he smiled at children? It's not germane. He did one good thing. Isn't that okay? That's nice, but it's overshadowed.
It's a big one.
He was in trouble with Moab.
That's true. In the end, Moab did not do anything to him for it. But he wasn't, that's true. Maybe it was bigger. Maybe, again, I'm speculating. I'm trying to figure out ex post facto. Why isn't it in the Pshat? Clearly, David was saying he did a chesed for me.
But that's not uncommon. Israel has to work with Saudi Arabia against Iran. It's a very strange political bedfellow. So,
True. Yeah, could be.
kind of
I mean, but at that time, David was not the king. There was no real reason that Ammon should protect David's brother from Moab. But they did. Why? Maybe it was an act of chesed. So David said, I'm going to pay back a chesed. They did a chesed. I'm going to pay back. Why not?
I'm wondering if, since based on this medrash, all of his parents, his brothers, except for all of that one, are basically killed by Shaul, because David has to flee from Shaul, and he's afraid that the family is going.
But the Navi says specifically, explicitly, that David takes them to Moab. That's
Right,
pshat.
okay.
So Shaul does not kill them.
No, but he's the reason why they're in Moab. Later on.
Oh, you're saying indirectly he's the.
Indirectly,
Okay.
like with the Gibeonites, and at the end of
Okay.
Shmuel, that
Yeah.
God has all of Shmuel, all of Shaul's family.
Yeah, you're right. Don't give it away. We're getting there.
Except
Okay,
for
but why isn't there payback for this?
Point well taken.
there's one.
Point well
that-
taken.
That isn't. I think Mephibosheth is.
Well, we talked about it last week.
That's Yonatan.
But it's still Shaul.
Right.
He's a descendant of
Well,
Shaul.
spoiler alert, you haven't seen how that ends up either.
Well, let's wait. We're going to get there. We didn't get there.
We're not like rushing ahead.
Right. We'll get there. Don't worry. We will get there. There'll be a lot of being there and getting there. It's okay. We're not. It's good. These are all connected. So, right. That's how a story goes. There's so many links to other pieces. Subplots. Right. So now look at Bamidbar Rabbah, page 2, at the top, the first Hebrew source here. Tsuror Midyanim means fight them, basically. Have enmity toward them, toward the Midianites. This is after the story of what happened in Baal Peor and a Parshat Balak. Now, beginning of Parshat Pinchas, the mitzvah comes, Tsuror Midyanim, which will be carried out in Parshat Matot. Remember, it goes Balak, Pinchas, Matot, those 3 Parshat, back. So, Al Pish Katavti, Kit Ravil Irli Lachem Aleha, Vikarati Lela Shalom, Le'elu Lotasukein, Lotidrosh Shalom V'tovatam. It's true. Generally, when you come to a city to fight, you should seek the peace of the place first, but not for these. And Midian is on that list as well. At Motzim Mishaba Imahem B'midat Rachmim, L'sof Ba Lidei Bizayon Milchamot Utzror. We find that any time that there is any kind of mercy or compassion shown toward these 3 nations, to the exclusion of other nations where we can show compassion and mercy, but Torah specifically says Moab, Ammon, Midian. But the other ones, we could. Okay? But, I guess Amalek not either, but that's for other reasons, and it's not going back down that road again. But the point is, if you try to show them rachamim, it'll end badly. It'll be degradation, shame, and wars. Ve'ezeh, zeh David, ve'yomer David aseh chesed, chanun ben nachash, amalek kadosh baruch hu, ata tavor ad dvari. You're going to go up against what I said. Ani katavti, in red, ani katavti lirosh shlomam v'tovatam, v'ata oseh imam gemilut chesed. Now, in this medrash, there's a dialogue going on. And the dialogue is Hashem saying to David, not Hanun's people saying to Hanun, we know what's in their Torah and here's what they really think about us. But now Hashem saying to David, you have no business doing this. And this makes David sending the people, the delegation, an act that is itself culpable, according to this medrash. Understand? Against the previous medrash, which made it sound like David's doing a nice thing. They reinterpreted it. He's saying, but let's finish. Hold on. So quoting from the pasuk in Kohelet, Al tehit tzaddik harbe. Don't be so overly righteous. Shlo yehei adam avater ala Torah v'zeh sholech lenachem b'nei Amon v'lasuri mochesed sof b'alidei bizayon. Don't give up or relinquish the words of the Torah, and you're sending something to Ammon. In the end, it'll end with degradation. And it quotes the psukim here: V'yikach Hanun and Avdei David v'galach et chatzis ganam v'chod madvehem b'chayitzi ad shtotehem. Vayishlochem uva lidei milchama im Aram Naharayim umalchei Tzovu umalchei Ma'acha ve'im bnei Amon dalad umot, a regional war involving 4 nations. Uchtiv vayar Yoav, ki hayta elav pnei milchama migron leDavid kach shabikei shlasa tova imis amar Kadosh Baruch Hu lo tidrosh lomam lekach tiv tzuror at. Do not make friends with them. Not with them. Keep your distance.
But we've heard this before. We heard this before with Shmuel saying it to Shaul. Don't be so righteous that you think that you're gonna show mercy to Amalek.
That was the right. Yes. That's the Gemara. That's correct. We learned exactly this pasuk. Al tit tzadik harbe is marshaled in that same Gemara, where Shaul is very much aggrieved that he's getting the specific mitzvah from Shmuel regarding Amalek, right? And the Gemara says Vayarev, uses that the pasuk is Vayarev, so it means that Shaul himself was aggrieved at what was going on. So the Gemara says, Shmuel told, don't be such a big tzaddik. Hashem gave you a mitzvah. Don't be such a big chacham that you're figuring out you're more than the mitzvah itself. You're more moral than the mitzvah of Hashem. It's a direct mitzvah. I'm the Navi. I'm telling you to do it. And you have the same thing in this medrash. That's what's going on. That David did the wrong thing by doing what he thought was the right thing because it countermanded a previously existing pasuk and a mitzvah. I say again, I want to underscore, it doesn't say Shalom anybody, it's just these 3 nations. Why? Because there was a history there. Let's bury the hatchet, let bygones be bygones. That's probably, according to this medrash, the logic that David had. But says the medrash, that's wrong. That's not true. God himself gave you a mitzvah. Don't think you're going to go against it. In the end, it will fall back on you. 4 armies, 4 nations will come to war here. misplaced chesed, even chesed can have an epic fail. Chesed done in the wrong way, or at the wrong time, or in the wrong proportion, or to the wrong object of one's chesed, if you will. And that's what happens here. It ends very badly. Yeah? That's not what the previous medrash said. It's this medrash.
I mean, wasn't Moses' father-in-law Midianite, and his
Right.
wife was Midianite?
Right.
I thought they were not in the same category as the tribes of Palestine.
Well, okay. Well, you're mixing a few things here. There's 7 nations in
Yeah, they were
Israel.
Midianites.
That's not in this conversation for now, anyway.
Okay.
But we're talking about Ammon and Moab and Midian. You're right. How did Midian get grouped this way?
Yeah.
Because of what happened in Baal Peor, where Midian schemed with Moab. First, by the way, at the beginning of Parshat Balak, how to undo the Jewish people. That's where they hire Bilam. V'shem Rishayim Yirkav. But then at the end of the Parsha Baal Peor, they do make inroads to the moral degradation and corruption of the Jewish people. They're faulted for this, and that's Tzorot HaMidyanim. Remember, it's the princess from Midian involving the head of one of the tribes, unfortunately, from Shimon. So that's Kozbi Vatsur. That's the whole story. So that's why that's here.
Okay.
As opposed to the 7 nations or something else. There's something that happened. And by the by, in Parshat Matot, that's one of the things that's very challenging for Moshe Rabbeinu. He owed so much on a personal level to Midian, to Yitro in Midian. And we'll come back to that in a few minutes. Give me 5-6 minutes. We'll be back at this as well. But further along, page 2. Cherev Patru Rishayim. Oh, wait, before I go further, stop here. We got to learn more psukim. Sorry. Back page 376. 376, Pasuk Chet. So the armies are massing. Pasuk Chet. Vayetzu b'nei Ammon, vayirchu milchama petach hashar, va'aram tzova, urechov, v'ish tov, uma'acha, levadam basadeh. So Ammon goes to make war. And the war that they are getting ready to fight is actually somehow, it mentions Petach Hashar, which actually implies that they mass inside whatever kind of fortress they have, castle, I don't know what it is, these are the wrong words, but whatever the fortifications around the old city of Ammon are, they live in it, they're sort of coming out there. That's south going, say, north to begin with. And then there's this group from the north that's going to come south. We saw that on the map. So they're all massing in different directions, and this is going to be instructive presently. Now, we'll see now what happens. They are outside in the field. The people from the north are massing in the field. And the people from the south seem to be still in Ammon, they're leaving. Pasuk Tet. Vayar Yoav ki hayta ilav pnei milchama mipanim umeachor. Yoav sees there's 2 fronts to the battle, a northern front and a southern front. Vayivchar mikol bechurei Yisrael vayaroch likrat Aram. So he takes the choicest soldiers and he arrays them to fight against the Arameans. Veit yeter ha'am natan biad Avshai, that's Avishai, here called Avshai, Achiv, vayaroch likrat b'nei Ammon. They get ready to fight the southern part of the front. Now, why is the battle happening where it's happening? Between Ammon to the south and all these places to the north, because Jews live on the east side of the Jordan, because that's the Eretz HaGilad, and because the first thing that the forces who don't want to be outflanked want to do is go north and south in a pincer movement to conquer all that territory. They would argue back, by the way, and then their plan purportedly is once they have united, joint forces, the southern force and the northern force, where do they go next? They'll move west, in the vicinity of the Yam Kinneret, and God forbid come into the lands of the Jewish people on the west bank of the Jordan, and a war for survival. So in what would later become much of the doctrine of Medinat Yisrael, fascinating to consider, is a doctrine of trying to make sure, it's not always possible, they try as best they can, to take the war to the enemy's territory. This is what happened again and again, right? This was 56, 67, 73, 82, right? Less conventional afterward in terms of what happened involving incursions into other places, but that's the idea. The Shetach HaLechima should not be the homestead, but you got to, you see, it is what they're doing here. They didn't wait for the East Bank people to get clobbered and overtaken and conquered, and then they'll say, now we'll mass on the border with the West Bank of the Jordan. We're going out to the East Bank. Follow what's going on? So now watch what happens. Vayomer, brother said to brother, Yoav said to his brother Avishai, Vayomer, Im techazak Aram mimeni vaytali lishua. If they are stronger than me, if Aram forces my hand, basically they defeat us, you come rescue us, north. If they're stronger than you, I'll come save you. Brother says to brother, I have your back. Not figurative, literal, I have your back. Chazak v'nit chazak, ba'ad amenu, uva'ad arei Eloheinu, v'adonai yaseh tov be'inav. Be strong and be strengthened for the sake of our nation, for the sake of the cities of our God. And Hashem will do that which is right in his eyes. Vayigash Yoav ha'am asher yimol milchama ba'aram vayanus mipanav. Yoav comes out to the battlefield, and Aram runs away. Remember, they were hired; they were mercenaries. Uvnei Amon ra'u kinas Aram vayanus mipnei Avishai vayavo ha'ir vayashov Yoav me'al bnei Amon vayavo Yerushalayim. So what happens? Yoav takes charge in the north, pushes them away. Avishai south. The Ammonites see that the Arameans are not coming to help them. They run back into the city. Vayar Aram kini gaf lifnei Yisrael vayasfu yachad. The Arameans decide that they are beaten by the Jewish people, by Yisrael. And so they gather together, they mass together one big force. Vayishlach Hadad Ezer vayotzei et Aram asher me'ever hanar vayavo chelam v'shovach sartzva Hadad Ezer lifnehem. So here are all the people. Chelam shows up. They go to where is Chelam? It is down across Tiberia. From Tiberia and Yam Kinneret, follow your eye to the right. There's a blue tab there. That's Chelam. And Shovach is the name of the chief of staff of Hadad Ezer. Hadad Ezer, one of the kings of Aram. Vayugadli David, vayasof et kol Yisrael, vayavor ha'Yarden, vayavo Chelama. Aram likrat David vayilachem imo. So now this is told to David, and what happens? All of the nation gathers together. They come to the Jordan. They go to Chelam. They have the fight. They have the war. Vayanas Aram mipnei Yisrael vayarog David me'Aram 740,000 parashim, 700 chariots, 40,000 riders. Ve'et shovach sartz v'oikav v'yamot sham. The chief of staff gets killed. Vayiru chol malachim avdei Hadad Ezer ki nigfu lifnei Yisrael. Vayashlimu et Yisrael vayavdum vayiru Aram loshia od et bnei Amon. Now there's a peace treaty where Hadad Ezer realizes he's beaten, and therefore they make a peace treaty with the Jewish people, and they no longer seek to be hired out to join Ammon in a coalition against the Jewish nation.
David actually goes out and fights in this.
It's not clear.
Okay, because that's going to be very important.
Right. It's not clear who's doing it. Is it David, literally David, or David's people, and there's emissaries of David. There's an interesting structure here where the beginning of the parak is David is sending the emissaries, and here it's again David, but it's not clear that it's David himself or not. Certainly we get to chapter 11 next week. If we have a shir next week, Thanksgiving, so I'll send out an email just to clarify once I figure out what the schedule is with the other program for the teens. David is really not there. He's going to be in Yerushalayim. So is he in Yerushalayim or is he in the battlefield? What's going on? So we'll have to come back to that. But also to recognize that here the war was prosecuted, and you have some of the military stratagem that was used by Yoav and his brother Avishai, two chiefs, the chief of staff and one of the generals, if you will, under the chief of staff. So the Ramat Kal, so to speak, and the, whatever the expression is, the Aluf, who's there, the commander. So they split up north-south, but in the end Aram goes running away, and Avishai dispatches the Ammonites, and there you have the story. Yeah. So now look at page 2. A pasuk, 2 psukim from the book of Tehillim. That is darshan the Medrash Tanchuma Parshat Lach Lecha. So let's look at the Medrash Tanchuma for want of time. Cherev Patchu Rishaim Zeh Chanun ben Nachash. Kate said, "How's that? With a sword did the wicked ones open?" Kate said, "Kevin Shemid Aviv Vayishlach Nachem Biyad Avadav." ויקח חנון את עבדי דוד ויגלח את חצי זקנם ויכול את מדוויהם בחצי עד שתותיהם וישלחם etc. מיד שלח חנון לארם נהריים. What did he send up? ויסקור מהם 32,000 רכב חוץ מן ריבי רבבות וכלוסין שהיו לו ובאו וחנו כולם במקום אחד. They all gathered together. He hired all sorts of people. אמר לי הקדוש ברוך הוא רשע בחרב פתחת חרבך תבוא בלבך. Your sword will end up in your heart. Amdu Yoav Avishai v'hargu kulam shneimar v'yigas Yoav ha'am asher mol milchama be'aram v'yinus mipanav. Right? They caused Aram to run away and they defeated them. The Malbim wants to know if there was something that was owed from David to Nachash on a personal level. Why did he wait till Nachash died? Why didn't he just send the emissaries to say thank you while Nachash was still alive?
Are there two Nachashes?
No, one Nachash.
The Nachash, I thought Nachash is the new king, not the
Chanun,
king.
Chanun, Chanun ben Nachash. Chanun ben Nachash is the new king. So he sent him a gift after he died. What was the gift? Condolence call for the son. Why is that? Understand? So what is that about? Yeah. So now, look at the bottom of page 2. Hashelo lama lo shalach malachim lenachash b'chayav lama hiskimu avdei chanun ki lachpor et haaretz bo. And why did the avdei chanun decide so quickly that it was for sure for a negative purpose? Esa chesed yisah muzharim shelo yidrosh b'shalom amonu moav. The Jewish people were warned not to be dorish b'shlomam. Omnam kvar katav b'hagot maimoni. One of the commentators, Hagot Maimoni, on the Rambam, writes in Nucham Lachim b'shem Hareim. It's one of the Rishonim. Shelidrosh shlom adam she'asal tova lahachzdo tova mutar. That on a personal level, it would be permissible for an individual to seek the goodness of another individual. The problem was the national was the problem, but an individual level be okay. For David lo darash shlom nachash b'chayav shebezeh haya muchrach shemalachav yavo shama derech kritat brit im ha'uma b'chlalav v'zeh asur. David did not seek the welfare of Nachash during his lifetime because that would certainly be read as an opportunity for political treaty between them, and that was not permissible. So David held him at arm's length during his lifetime. Okay. Rak ata shemeit Nachash. Now Nachash died. Matzah makom l'zeh lishloch menachemim. Now he could send a condolence call. Shabizeh eno korei brit rak menachamehu. Menachamehu. He just wanted to offer condolences. Shabizeh mechabed aviv hamet. He did honor the father who had died. V'yesh lo heter al zeh achar shehu derech hashavat tova. He's allowed to do that because he's paying back a kindness. That's nice. That's good. It was personal. She al zeh amar. Chesed. Kasher asa aviv imadi chesed vayishlach lenachamo v'chulei el aviv. Lo ba'avur atzmo. I'm not sending the delegation for Chanun. I'm sending the delegation because of what Chanun's father did for me. Lo ba'avur atzmo, not for himself. V'chol zot amru chazal b'medrash rabbah sh'David ne'nash al zeh. And yet the sages teach in the medrash rabbah. We saw that at the top of this page, page 2. V'yesh lomar, he was punished. V'yesh lomar sh'dieg zeh b'mas shekadav vayvo avdei David eretz b'nei Amon. But actually, the way it was perceived by the servants is this isn't a personal condolence call because the people who came are wearing madim, madveihem. They wore the uniforms of the royal retinue of the court of David HaMelech. They didn't come as individuals representing a man named David. They were perceived as coming as being Dorei Shlomam. V'zeh asur, that's forbidden. Therefore, David was punished. And therefore, how was he punished? That what he was trying to do as a personal thing was misread as a national thing. Hagam she'ikar shlichot hayal lenachem et Chanun v'lachem b'divrei yamim perish v'yavo Chanun lenachamo. Therefore, in Divrei Yamim's version of this, it's going to say it was to offer him condolences. It sort of says that here, but it's more explicit there. So it's just interesting to think about this. Skip with me the middle section of this page, and now look down page 3, Rav Amnon Bazak. Please,
I just had
Faith.
a question if David could have been confused by the name, because if a snake names his son Mercy, maybe he thought.
Or grace, yeah, compassion. Maybe they did tshuva.
Yeah.
Maybe. Oddly enough, the man named Nachash seems to have done kindness for David, and the man named Hanun did something wrong, yeah.
This reminds me of John McCain and Trump and John McCain's funerals. Bitter enemies, and should he attend the funeral?
He was,
But it's
Page 3, Rav Amnon Bazak, Yeshivat Har Etzion. This is the English translation of his essays. I just thought this is here. We're back to structure, but it also opens up some understanding. And he didn't quote the Malbim, Rav Amnon Bazak, but I think it fits nicely with what the Malbim writes. So here, Rav Amnon Bazak, special attention should be paid to the similarities between our chapter and the previous chapter, chapter 9. In both chapters, David wishes to perform a kindness for a person by virtue of the kindness performed for David by the father of that person who died in the meantime. Remember last week? Mephibosheth, the kindness is done with him not because of Mephibosheth really, but because of Yehonatan. But it's precisely this similarity that highlights the difference between the two fathers. Yehonatan's actions were indeed good, but this was not the case regarding the acts of Nachash Ha'amoni, because so much of what Nachash did, we talked about before, was incredibly negative. David's mistake, which stemmed from traits that were good themselves, was that he focused on the personal connection between him and Nachash and ignored the fundamental relationship between the king of Israel and the king of the people of Ammon. Scripture gives this idea literary expression in the striking difference between the terms used to describe David in the account of his kindness in our chapter and the terms used to describe used in the account of his kindness in the previous chapter. So look here on page 375, and you'll see that Vayomer David as an individual says, is there some kindness that I'm in chapter 9, verse 1, page 375, as I should do to the house of Shaul? Let me do a chesed for them on account of Yonatan. But why? Because I can do it, because I'm the king. So when you look at chapter 2, chapter 9, verse 2, scan your eye, what does David change to? Vayomer HaMelech. Pasuk Gimel, Vayomer HaMelech. Pasuk Dalad, Vayomer HaMelech. Pasuk Hey, Vayishlach HaMelech David. Now look at chapter 10. Vayomer Melech Bnei Ammon. How come it didn't say his name? How come it didn't say his name is Nachash? So the next pasuk it's going to tell you. It doesn't tell you that because the official figurehead of the nation of Ammon died. If you're coming to the Shiva, so to speak, you're coming in a national capacity. So, here we have, Pasuk Bet, Vayomer David, Eseh Chesed. Vayishlach David, same Pasuk. Vayomer Avdei David. Vayomer Serei Bnei Ammon, El Chanun Adonaihem, Chavei David et Avicha. You think it's personal? It's not personal. This has everything to do with national interests. And what's the national interest? Spying on us to take us over. That's the idea. Vayikach Chanun et Avdei David. Vayigiru David. Then you have, finally, at the end, David Nafala Simon, he realizes, oh, wait a minute. Vayomer HaMelech Shvu B'Yericho Ad Yitzmach Zikanchem B'Shavtem. Look at page 4 here in the sources. Rav Amnon Bazak writes, in chapter 9, where David acted in a commendable manner, he's referred to over and over as the king. In contrast, in the opening verses in our chapter, he's repeatedly referred to as David. And in this way, Scripture alludes to the fact that David acted in accordance with his emotions as a private citizen, while ignoring his standing as the king of Israel, who must represent the entire nation. Even though, as stated, David acted out of good intentions, his mistake nevertheless had very tragic consequences. Had David not sent comforters to Hanun, the son of Nachash, the Ammonites would not have humiliated them, and Yisrael would not have gone out to war against them, and Yoav ben Seruya and Uriah HaChiti would not have left Jerusalem, and ellipsis. Now, by the way, the ellipsis is not mine. Rav Amnon Bazak wrote an ellipsis there. There's a few other paragraphs, but you see a little bit where things are going. He meant well on one level. He did. It wasn't, but he forgot, I'm not just a human being over here. I represent the whole nation. Everything I do, everywhere I go, everyone I send has that imprimatur whether I like it or not. And if I think there's going to be, by the way, a way in which I'm going to have, instead of splitting things up as I am as a human being subsumed under my role, and I can't really get out of it. But rather, I'm going to see things on a plane, not of nation to nation, but rather on the plane of I'm a person who is part of a class. I'm a king, and I'm an individual, so I'll relate to people who are of my class, cross-nationally, internationally. Isn't that what happened with Shaul and the king of Amalek? Do you remember with Agag?
Yeah.
That he spared Amalek, King
Personal
Agag,
courtesy. Yeah.
right?
Professional courtesy.
Professional courtesy. I would want the same for me, says Shaul, if I was captured by a foreign nation. Didn't happen. Nabucco killed himself on the mountain on Har Gilboa. Terrible. But what happens? You understand? He forgot his role. I represent the nation, and we're okay, right? We're two kings. We're gonna make a pact on a personal level, But we'll just Shmuel says nothing doing. What happens here? What is David doing? Maybe a little bit. I'm sending a delegation, but because it's person to person, it's a personal thing. I have that track. And here, what's the point? This Rav Amnon Bazak's point. I think you find it in the Malbim as well. It's really sourced in the Malbim. He didn't quote the Malbim as far as I can tell, but probably he learned the Malbim and he was thinking about the Malbim. I maybe should ask him if I ever see him. That really, you can't separate the two variables, that the people are going to read it as a national step or misstep.
I wonder, did anybody say that it's not a kindness to Yonatan to look after to see whether there's anybody else from the family of Shaul? He made a treaty with him. And actually that treaty, you said sort of at the beginning.
With Yehonatan, you mean?
Yes.
I can't say the word treaty because it's not national. It was a covenant.
No, but it's a covenant, and that you've always said that the way things turned out between David and Shaul didn't have to happen.
Right.
That there could have been a thing between the families where it all was nice.
An accommodation of some sort.
Basically a covenant, and he had that with Yonatan. So it's totally different than, this guy did some favor for me, or
Okay.
did something nice,
Fine.
and I'll do
Fine.
it again.
Fine.
He's trying to, in a sense, make a tikkun for what Shaul didn't do.
Right. It could be. Yeah, it could be. I mean, isn't this oftentimes the question? Maybe even without delving into the current climate, fractious climate of our politics in our great land. But isn't the question on the table and on every single screen of every newscast, the question of, does the person who is, quote unquote, the boss, get to throw in something that's not actually in the interests of the nation, but in the interests of the individual? Isn't that the question at hand? Yeah. About whether there was a blurring between the national role, the figurehead role, the role of the commander-in-chief, and a side thing, a personal thing? Now, I'm not weighing in on it. I don't know any more than anybody else does, and I have no expertise in it, but just as someone who's exposed to media, maybe overexposed to media, is like seizing everyone's attention. So, lahavdal fe'avdalut, on so many levels, but what's going on here, and I don't mean to cast aspersions on David HaMelech. The point is, he meant well. He was trying to do a chesed, but there's a law of unintended consequences. Now, is that because it was on the Ammonites, they're wicked and they did this? Or is it somewhat, according to the Medrash Bamidbar Rabbah, it really is on David, that he made a mistake. According to the Malbim, he meant well, and according to Rav Amnon Bazak, it's chapter 9 into chapter 10. Why those two put together? It's not because chronologically they happen one after the other, but because these are two stories that are emblematic of the chesed that David HaMelech does. In the first case, it works for a time. We're going to see what's going to happen later, but for it works, Mephibosheth. And the second time, epic fail. Now, if you turn back to page 374, I want you to also realize that what I said before still stands. Namely, at the end of chapter 8, which is at the bottom of page 374, verses, it's really a lot at the bottom, but verses 15, 16, 17, and to the top of the next page in 18, that's a summary series of psukim. The koteret, the title on this chapter, right, chapter 8, was actually Wars of David, which is really not a section of itself. But remember we said, chapter 5, he comes to Yerushalayim. Chapter 6, he's fighting a war. He's bringing up the Aron Kodesh. Chapter 7, David wants to build the Mikdash. He's told, you will not build the Mikdash. Chapter 8, another series of wars that David fights. Okay? He fights against the Plishtim, and if you look at what goes on in this story, it also mentions that he fought Moab, but then it starts mentioning that he's fighting against Pasuk Gimel, Hadad Ezer, Ben Rechov Melech Tzova, right? Then it's telling you about the fight against the Aram Damasek, right? Aram Damasek came to assist Hadad Ezer, the king of Tzova, a whole thing back and forth. Now, it's possible that had happened already, and now they just came back again. But when you look at it here, it seems pretty obvious that it was a really resounding defeat of Aram. So what I'm trying to explain to you is section, chapter 5, well, really 4 into 5, 6 through 8, with 7 sandwiched in the middle about David's inner desire, what he really wants, which is not to control territory, but to build a house for Hashem. That's one unit. Chapter 9 and 10, and I'm going to argue chapter 9 and 10 as the preamble, Chesed of David that works, Chesed of David that doesn't work. Going to chapter 11, which is going to be the story with David and Bathsheba and Uriah, etc. Then everything that's going to flow from that story will then play out in the chapters afterward. In other words, the story of chapter 10 is partially being told from the causes of the war, the prosecution of the war from the Jewish people's side, the success on the battlefield, described with the battlefield of Yoav and Avishai and why there was a back and a forth and who's going back to Yerushalayim and who's coming back to the battlefield, because that will help us understand what happened with David in chapter 11, with Uriah coming back from a battlefield. It's from that battle. But where's the sort of overarching historical perspective, or rather sort of the survey, I should say, of these are the wars that David fought? Well, that's in chapter 5, 6, 8. With 7 being put in the middle of the sandwich we discussed last time, and I mentioned again a couple times already today. I'm going to keep repeating myself. You understand what's going on? So if you drew it as like boxes of units, there's the theme of Kibush Yerushalayim, chapter 5, 6, and 7 goes in that box. It's about the going up to Yerushalayim. Chapter 8 is other wars of David. Earlier wars of David. There'll be later ones too. Earlier wars of David. Chapter 8 finishes. Now let's tell you 2 stories, 2 vignettes about David, which both reflect on what we said in chapter 8, which is not only did he prosecute wars, but he's a man of great kindness. Well, sometimes it worked out. Chapter 9, it worked out. That's Mephibosheth's story. But in chapter 10, his tzedakah umishpat, his sense, wow, chesed, I said chesed, it didn't work. Fail. And that will be, Rav Amram Bazak is pointing that out, click, click, click. One thing was nit galgel, one thing went to the next, the causal links to the terrible events of chapter 11. Join with me page 4 at the bottom. Baruch Kanol in Machanaim, the journal Machanaim, found online at da'at.co.il, has an article about the various wars, and I just clipped out this piece of it. Hamatzav hagorali shlifnei oto krav nishma hetev b'divrei Yoav. The fateful situation that was underway at the onset of this war is in Yoav's own words. In other words, there was a real possibility that Aram would overpower Yoav, or that Ammon would overpower Avishai. That's what he's saying. And that's why he adds the piece, Chazak v'nit chazak ba'ad amenu v'ad arei Elokeinu. V'Hashem atov be'inav yaseh. God who is good, he'll do what's right in his eyes, right? Okay. Yoav lo himtin. Ad asher ha'aramim v'amonim yitachdu v'yatkifu mishnei tzdadim. He didn't wait until they united forces, the northern force and the southern force. He saw they were already massing and coming down. He grabbed them. Harei tzva Yisrael nimtza'ata bein hamonim hanetzurim b'Rabat Ammon. They're trapped, the Ammonim, in Rabat Ammon, in Amman. Lebein atzva Arami. And on the north is the Arameans. Lachein atal Yoav yozma liyado. Yoav took the initiative. For the kavod tzva aretzi, he attacked the army of the land. I mean, right there. Haramim nasu ve'ein ladat im adavar higia liklal krav. We're not even sure that it actually come to a war where they scared off. Mistaber yoter sharamim hichlitu laseget. They decided to withdraw. Kasher nochichu shetzva Yoav menuseh b'milchama yuchali l'natzcham. They saw that it was going to be a victory by Yoav's people. For internal reasons, they wanted to prevent Hadad Ezer's people from losing many people in the battle. And then Bnei Ammon also withdrew into the city. It was not here the end of the conquest of Ammon. Why did Yoav go back home? Because they had called up all the reserves. He's a Baruch Knoll living in Medinat Yisrael. You understand? He understands it. All the reserves were called up. Everyone's out on the battlefield. You can't leave the home front unprotected. So Yoav withdrew back to Yisrael, to the western side of the border. I mean, it's a beautiful idea, yeah. So just what to consider. I'll close just by mentioning the Gemara, page 3. I did this a little bit out of order, but the Gemara, page 3, as follows. Tanu Rabbanan, the Gemara is in the middle of page Brachot, Daf Lamed Bet Amud Bet. Tanu Rabbanan, Arbaat Tzrichim Chizuk, 4 that require strengthening all the time. Ve'eluhein, Torah u'masim tovim tefillah v'derech eretz. 4 things: Torah, good deeds, prayer, and the way of the world, derech eretz. Skip to the bottom of those 3 lines. It's 4 lines, but the third line, end of it, derech eretz minayin. What's the pasuk tells you? Derech eretz requires chizuk. Chazak v'nit chazak be'ad amenu v'gomer. Says Rashi tzarich in chizuk. Sheet chazek adam bahem tamid b'chol kocho. Person has to constantly be training to strengthen themselves in these things. They don't come easily, and they're not maintained unless you keep strengthening it. Derech eretz. Im omanhu, if the person is a craftsman, le'umanu tot, whatever the craft is. Im socherhu, lischorato, if they're a business person, to their business. Im ish milchamahu, le'milchamto, if they're a warrior, to their war. Says the Malbim on this pasuk, Chazak, what was the command of Yoav to Avishai? And you can imagine it going out, as a WhatsApp to all of the chayalim in each of the gedudim, etc. V'tzival shit chazek, he should strain himself, Aleph, be'ad am Hashem, for the sake of the nation of Hashem. Number 2, for the sake of the cities of our God. Because if the enemy will strengthen himself too much, be too strong, God forbid, to come to destroy the cities of the land of Israel. We learn from this that the salvation of Hashem requires 2 means of preparation. Aleph, ha'achana ha'tiv'it. It requires a natural preparation. Ve'amru chazal, dal tzrichim chizuk derech eretz shenemer chazak v'nit chazak. Shnayim, bet, ha'achana ha'machshavit, one that requires a mental preparation. What's the mental preparation? L'shem Hashem. V'al zot amar be'ad Elokeinu. We do this for the sake of Hashem. V'az, and then Hashem atov be'inav ya'aseh, God will do as is good in His eyes. La'azor k'fi ha'achana ha'ru'uya, will help us according to our preparation. And the Malbim did not live to see Medinat Yisrael. Unfortunately, died earlier, 19th century. But you read it, you think, Taka, and not accidentally. Therefore, people Ad Yom Hazeh will make reference to this pasuk: Chazak v'nit chazak be'ad amenu uve'ad arei Elokeinu v'Hashem hatov be'inav ya'aseh. Right? So Hashem will do what is right in His eyes. We've done our part, and then after that, we're throwing our mercy on Hashem. He should protect us. So that's all we have time for really today in terms of our learning. But next we learn, whether it's next week or in 2 weeks, we'll see. We're going to come to a very challenging section. But all of this, chapter 9, chapter 10, will hopefully serve as some preparation to understand what is actually at play in chapter 11 and how it came to be what it came to be. Ad kan.